Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share our family's journey with animal rescue. And it has been a journey intellectually and emotionally and spiritually. My hope for this morning is to share a few of the bigger steps along this journey in a way that you'll understand them. Much of what I'm going to say will repeat things that have been taught in this very room. So I'm hoping some parts sound and feel familiar to you. It all started with us when our daughter Sarah was 10 and when our daughter Sarah was 12 and our son Christian was 10. And we thought that 12 and 10 were good ages to get a family dog. The kids were old enough to be responsible, but still young enough that the dogs and the kids could spend time growing up together. We decided we would get a golden retriever because we did some research and learned that Slowakies and golden retrievers are very similar breeds. We're emotionally demonstrative, we're loyal and enthusiastic, and we're physically affectionate. We spent more than 7 wonderful years with our first golden retriever, Bowser the Wonder Dog. Upon his passing, we picked out a new golden, Faith Buffy. Oh dear. No, that's the other she is. Sarah's the one on the right. Faith is now 9, and she's just been the best. Several times during our walks together, Faith and I have met Greg Porter, who often speaks here at Valley View. And Greg gave Faith my favorite nickname, the Unfallen Dog. Faith is really the way that God created Goldens to be, and the way you can imagine Goldens were before the fall. She's happy and loyal and faithful and trusting and bubbles over with life and love. Faith is so full of life and love that our family began to feel badly when our daily schedules would take us all to work and school and Faith would be left home alone. So we decided to get a second dog to keep Faith company. Soon thereafter, we went to a Chinese buffet in a strip mall. The buffet was next to a pet store where it was adoption day. They had several animals outside in crates and cages with people sitting at a literature table nearby. We didn't walk over, but we were close enough that I could see an emaciated 3-legged dog hobbling around the cages. I can close my eyes right now and still see that dog. We went inside to eat and during dinner decided to look into adopting a dog. We also decided to stick with golden retrievers, and my boss at the time overheard me talking about adopting a golden one day. And she told me that she had a cousin who used to volunteer at some place called Delaware Valley Golden Retriever Rescue. That's how we found what we now call Golden Gateway, and I've lifted this right from their website. Since 1993, Delaware Valley Golden Retriever Rescue has successfully placed over 3,200 golden retrievers into new homes. Our mission is simple: to provide new beginnings for displaced golden retrievers. DVGRR has been recognized for our innovative work in rescuing and rehabilitating puppy mill breeder dogs. The Project Home Life program works with puppy mill survivors to help them transition successfully from the horrors of life in a puppy mill to a normal home life with a loving family. I had no idea how much my life was about to change. We submitted our adoption application. We aced our home visit when Jill and I sat down to chat with the evaluator, and Faith jumped into my lap on the sofa and began gnawing on my thumb like a baby. We began to look for Faith's new brother on their website and began to learn more about puppy mills and breeder dogs. Puppy mills are places where dogs are forced to breed for profit, with little regard for the health of the puppies and even less for the dogs who breed to produce them. These breeder dogs spend their entire life in cages, like this one right here. For many, their only human contact comes when they're brought out to breed, or if they're lucky enough to have someone toss some food into their cage. When brought out to breed, they're often lassoed around their neck or their legs and then dragged out. Females are frequently strapped down into a device called a bitch hitch. It holds her down so she can be impregnated. Many puppy mill owners consider breeder dogs to be useless when they grow too old to generate a large enough litter to be profitable. So what happens to a useless dog? They're often shot to death, or drowned, or simply tied to a tree in the woods, abandoned, and left to starve to death alone. Some fortunate breeder dogs are confiscated by the local Humane Society or surrendered by the owner to dog rescue organizations like DVGRR. But the cries of those who are not rescued, the cries of the ones tied to a tree and left to starve to death alone, echo Proverbs 12:10. The godly care for their animals, but the wicked are always cruel. This is Buster. Buster was rescued from serving as a breeder in a golden retriever puppy mill. We adopted Buster from DVGRR in 2007, and I know it sounds funny, but for reasons I will try to explain, Buster was the great love of my life. Buster brought into our home all the emotional and mental scars of living his first 5 years in a cage. And although he eventually grew into a happy, friendly, and often quite playful dog, he was anything but happy, friendly, and playful when he first came home. And something about Buster really bothered me. Not the usual, how can people treat animals so cruelly type of bother, although that was certainly a big part of it. But something about his constantly pained, constantly confused, and troubled expression bothered something deep inside me. And I struggled trying to figure out why a sad dog would bother me so much. We were figuring out life with Buster around the same time that Valley View embarked on our study of Daniel. During one of these lessons, Bruce spoke about how God, throughout history, would send prophets to redeem Israel, to rescue Israel, a history that culminated in sending his son. After that, my ears picked up on the word rescue during our worship here. One Communion Sunday, we were reminded that communion is one way that we remember Jesus' rescuing work on the cross. That is when it hit me. It wasn't only the inexplicable pain and suffering in Buster's eyes and face. It was knowing that he was helpless and unable to prevent it. Just like I am helpless and unable to prevent pain and suffering in my own life and in the lives of my children and family and friends. And just like Buster was helpless, trapped inside, and needed to rely on someone else to release him from his cage, I was once trapped inside my own cage. Buster's cage was metal. My cage was selfishness and ego. We both needed to rely on someone else to rescue us. Buster was not the rescue. The rescue was me. Buster and me became inseparable pretty much forever thereafter. Buster suddenly got sick and died in my arms on June 6, 2012. For you history buffs, I like to think of Buster storming the beach of heaven on D-Day. Late that night, Jill posted on Facebook, "Buster, we will always love you. You taught us more about unconditional love and grace than anyone." And anyone who watched us grow into loving each other knew that this was true. A day or two thereafter, my son, God bless him, says to me, maybe Buster went home because he knew we'd done all we could for him, and there was another dog that needed our help more. So I foolishly sent an email to the DVGRR adoption team a few days later that said, next time you get a dog that no person in their right mind would even think about bringing into their house, you know where to find us. And I have to admit that even I wondered why I would want to sign my family up to go through all of that again. It felt like the right thing to do, but we can all look back at things we've done that felt like the right thing to do and turned out horribly wrong. Once again, in this room, on a Sunday morning, just a few weeks ago, Scott Berkheimer, God bless him, helped me figure this out. Scott's lesson on the road to the cross included this quote, the capitalization is my own, from an essay by Cornelius Plantinga Jr. The webbing together of God's, human, and all creation in justice, fulfillment, and delight is what the Hebrew prophets call shalom. In English, we call it peace, but it means far more than just peace of mind or ceasefire between enemies. In the Bible, shalom means universal flourishing, wholeness, and delight, a rich state of affairs in which natural needs are satisfied and natural gifts fruitfully employed, a state of affairs that inspires joyful wonder as the Creator and Savior opens doors and speaks welcome to the creatures in whom he delights. Shalom, in other words, is the way things are supposed to be. I know in my heart that God created Buster. I know in my heart that God delighted in Buster and in the love that God allowed to flourish between us. I know in my heart that this love reflects the way things are supposed to be, and so we were willing to try it again. This past July 3rd, the eve of Independence Day, Jill and I took faith to meet a rescue puppy mill survivor named Buddy, an incredibly handsome and incredibly damaged 4-year-old male. Here's how DVGRR described him. Buddy is a puppy mill survivor who will need patience and understanding. Buddy is one of the more severe cases of survivors we've had at Gateway, and with that assessment goes the need for a mentor dog who is very secure and able to help Buddy understand that it's okay even to make eye contact with people, and perhaps someday come to a human to be petted. Buddy came home to live with Jill, Faith, and me on July 10th. To be honest, life with Buddy has not been great. He is still terrified of most people, including and especially me. He loves Mommy Jill, though. He's even eaten food out of her hands, which is a tremendous display of trust. But he does not like to be with me, especially alone with me. It's frustrating, but maybe this is God's way of helping me remember that we didn't adopt Buddy for me. We adopted Buddy for him. So this past January, I sent another email to our adoption team, which read, 6 months ago, we brought Buddy home for the first time. Since then, we've been through the emergency room, pneumonia, and a hospital stay. We need a new living room rug, and I have cried more over this dog than I ever cried for either of our children. And while I don't presume to speak for Jill, I can tell you that I would do it all again. I am learning so much about courage and forgiveness and patience from Buddy. Thank you so much for this gift and the lessons he's taught me. Thank you not only for being Buddy's angels, but my own. And thank you is such a great way to end. Thank you so much to Bruce and Matt and the rest of the church leadership for this opportunity to speak this morning. Thank you for listening. A very special thank you to my family, especially my wife and kids, who have put up with more craziness than even a crazy person should expect. Many people in this room know that the Buster years also led me to edit a book called Puppy Mill Dogs Speak. Like too many puppy mill breeder dogs, Buster could not speak. His breeder debarked him to keep him quiet. Breeders usually debark their dogs by jamming a metal pipe or wooden stick down their throat to shred their vocal cords. We called our book Puppy Mill Dogs Speak to give these dogs voice. I wrote several thank yous in this book, and I close this morning with the last of them. Ultimate thanks to a wise God who knew that we would need a warm, living reflection of his loyalty, forgiveness, and compassion here on earth, held a mirror up to his own face, and taught us how to spell his name backwards. Thank you very much.